Cloches can be so outrageously priced, especially when they're dome tiered tray cloches. Today we're going to be using a $3 vase from the Dollar Tree, a glass plate, a candle stem holder, a little wood finial, a wooden spool, and a wooden circle. I don't show that until a little bit later. But basically all of our supplies are very affordable. To start off, we're going to take the finial and the spool. I put hot glue around the finial and wood glue down into the hole, and then I brought them together. The wood glue is going to lock everything in, while the hot glue is just a short-term hold. Hot glue over time will just come apart when you glue wood together. You can see here I'm pushing that wood glue down in there by tapping it on my desk, and then we want to leave it upright, so I'm going to just put it in that candle stem holder. If you do not have this scraper in your craft room, I know I've been saying it a lot lately, but this sticker was so stubborn, and this is the perfect example why I love this tool. Number one, the blade is not sharp. It's a plastic blade, but the beveled edge allows you to get underneath the most stubborn stickers. If I was trying to get this off with my hands, there's just no way. So here I am coming around, going really slow, adding pressure, and now there's this sticky residue left over. Now normally I would use Goo Gone, but this time I decided to just take it to the sink with the scraper. I scraped off all the sticky residue using this tool. I'm going to link it down below. It is a super affordable tool. If you were going to splurge on something this month, this tool is absolutely fantastic if you haven't gotten one. If you have got one, leave a comment down below and share with everybody if you like it or if I'm just crazy. All right, we're going to move on to the dome. This is going to become a high-end cloche lid, and I'm going to take this wooden circle. All of my little wooden pieces typically come from the Dollar Tree or from Hobby Lobby, like the finials and the spindle. But this wooden circle, I actually did get that from the Dollar Tree. So I'm using E6000 on the wooden circle as well as hot glue. We want this to bond to the lid of this dome, this glass vase basically. And then I'm going to put some more wood glue into the spool, and that's going to all come together. And when it's done, you let it dry with the amount of time needed. I let mine dry overnight, and it is such a tight seal that I can pick it up from the handle with no problem. Now I'm going to use my E6000. I'm going to squirt hot glue down into the hole where the candle would normally go, and then I'm going to put that on the plate. The E6000 takes anywhere between 2 to 5 hours to really truly lock in, but I like that hot glue to keep it in place so it doesn't slide around. I took it outside, I spray painted it white, and now we're going to bring the whole look together. This is such a quick, high-end looking craft that anybody can do with the right glue on hand. I put the eggs inside from the Dollar Tree, added some Spanish moss to make it look like a nest, and now I'm going to take one of these beaded garlands. Again, you can get this from the floral section at the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to measure out the size of that dome from the vase, and I'm going to coil it around, making this beautiful beaded wreath garland. Once I've got everything all twisted in place, I'm going to just slide that right on top. And then to finish off the look, to give it that cute country vibe, I'm going to take this lacy ribbon from the Dollar Tree and tie a simple bow. Trim off the tails, and that's it. You have a high-end, beautiful look that was so easy to make. I found this darling sign at the Dollar Tree. They have some good signs this year. I'm going to take the sign and I'm going to take some twine and some of these carrots. The sign is super cute, but I really wanted to make it more whimsical and special. So I'm going to create different tiered layers of these twine strings coming down. I've got the longest in the middle. Then moving out to the second spot on the right and the left, I've got the next length. It's a little bit shorter, and then on the end I have the shortest one. And that's because I'm going to make sure I balance the carrots and where they're lining up on the string. So the middle string is going to have 3 carrots. I have really tough fingers with heated things. Like I can work in my kitchen even without using a lot of pot holders when I'm picking up pots. Please use finger guards if that's too hot for you. But you can see here that I'm just going to put some glue on the back of a carrot. I find the side that's least appealing, and that's the side I glue to the string. The better side, I want it to be towards the front. I let it cool for about a second, and then I just swipe off the extra glue, making sure that it's locking in to the twine and the carrot, and it's all nice one piece, so it's not going to just come off really easily over time. Once I've got that first one done, I'm going to lay it down and move on to the second row, which is on the right and the left of that middle row. And this one is going to have 2 carrots. Then I move on to the last, and it's going to have only 1 carrot. And you'll see here when I start to glue it to the back of the sign, the carrots are going to fall in between the void of each other. So that first row with the 3, the 2 in the next row over, will fall in the void where there's no carrots, and the same for the very end. I'm making sure that the carrots aren't going to collide when they're dangling down, but they're going to just be all of these carrots perfectly lined up. This part's pretty easy. I just take my time. And I'm going to glue them to the back, making sure they're glued on there nice and sturdy. We don't want anything coming off. You can see here that I'm just making sure, oh, I got to pull it down a little bit because I want it to fall into that void. And then I'm going to glue it. Once I've got all of those glued on, we want to make sure we clean up the back. Again, I like to have a nice backside. Friends, I say this all the time here because it really does make a difference when you have a nice cleaned back side of your projects that you're making. Again, if it's not your thing, no big deal, but Heidi likes to do this to all her projects. So I'm going to glue that last one, and then I'm going to come in with a piece of scrapbook paper. I didn't show it, by the way, but I'm going to cut off these extra pieces of twine that are too long, trim those down, and then I'm going to add on some glue with a piece of scrapbook paper that I'm going to use to lock it all together. It's also going to help the twine from coming off, and it just cleans up that backside look. You could put a piece of fabric. You could also end up just doing a whole big piece of scrapbook paper, whatever you want to finish the backside. To complete the look, we are going to add a bow because we need a bow on this. And then I like to layer these kind of signs on a wreath. Here's how it looks, layered with a wreath and these darling carrots dangling down. Wouldn't this be so adorable on a front door? For this craft, we're going to be using one of these galvanized buckets and one of these oven cover trays, burner tray covers. I always call them different things and I always get it wrong. But we're going to bring them together with some E6000 and some hot glue. I always like to clean up the bottom if there's ever E6000 that kind of goops out when you press it down. But make sure your bucket is centered in the middle of the oven burner tray cover. And then once you've got that all aligned and adhered, I took some painter's tape and I'm just going to cover up the twine because I don't want paint to get on the twine part of this craft. I went ahead and got everything spray painted black that was metal, and now I'm revealing that the twine was nice and covered so you can still have that beautiful twine on there. And now I'm going to go ahead and take some of this gingham black and white fabric, cut off a strip, and I'm going to start by doing just a simple knot around it so I can get the tails part of my bow. And I wanted the fabric to wrap around the base part of this cute little tray we're making. And now I'm just going to add a fabric bow that I put together by just folding in the sides and putting a little bit of extra fabric in the middle. And now it's ready to be displayed. For this DIY, we're going to be taking 6 of these super popular galvanized corrugated metal frames with clips on them, some painter sticks, and then some of these really large tongue depressor sticks that I get from Walmart. I'm going to take apart the frame, pop off the back, and then with my little eyeglass screw kit, I'm just going to take off that tiny little screw, and we're going to just save those because I'm sure on another day I'll find a use for these little clips. And then we're going to just glue everything back into place. And the part where I popped off the back, I'm putting that part inside the frame so that the back of this looks really nice and finished. Then I'm going to take 2 of them and glue those together on their sides. I'm making sure that the holes are going opposite direction. You can see right there. I wanted to make sure that they were going out so it didn't look like you have 2 random holes in the middle. And then I put 2 together the long way, 2 together the long way, and then I'm taking the 5th and the 6th frame, and that's going to become the sides of a darling crate with a handle that we're making. So we're just going to add some glue, and then we're going to come back in with our staple gun, and we're going to just secure it to make sure that everything is nice and snug and not going to come apart. I don't always just trust hot glue when it comes to certain things. I like to secure things because I don't want things to break and fall apart on me as I use them. When I make them, I want to make sure they last forever. Then on the inside, I'm going to take my painter stick, and I'm just going to add a whole bunch of hot glue in there, and I'm going to glue that right into place. And then I'm going to come back in with my staple gun and add a couple staples to make sure everything is nice and secure. Once I've got the 2 handles on, one on opposite side of each other on the shorter parts of this box, I'm going to cut off the top and the bottom of these long sticks that you can get from Walmart, and I'm going to make sure that the right length of the end of the box, and this is going to become the base of our box. Now I don't, again, just trust hot glue. I think that that can pop off really easily. So I'm going to come back in with my staple gun, and I'm just going to pop on 1 staple at each one of the sticks on the top and the bottom to make sure everything is nice and secure. And then at this point, we're going to go ahead and add on the handle. Now I have this dowel stick that I have in my craft room from the home improvement store, but you can honestly use a plunger stick for this. And I'm just going to cut it down with my miter box and my saw, and then I'm going to go ahead and screw that into place using my drill. I always like to pre-drill holes anytime I ever work with these painter sticks because they can splinter quite easily. So I always pre-drill the hole first to make sure things go through nice and smooth without having any problem, and then I just drill it all into place. And now at this point, you can add whatever color paint you want to it, distress it, and it will look so adorable to use in your home for any season year round. If you are new to my channel and you are enjoying this content, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and make sure you click the subscribe button so you don't miss more videos that are coming out here on my channel. This project has a high-end Pottery Barn feel and look to it. We're going to be using this large egg that I got from Walmart, but you can honestly find these at the Dollar Tree too. It's just one that I had on hand I wanted to use. Some Spanish moss from the Dollar Tree, this glass candle pedestal from the Dollar Tree, and then I did get this finial topper from Hobby Lobby, but I get them on sale, so just keep an eye out for them. I wish the Dollar Tree would sell finial toppers. A good substitute for it is getting a chest game set and use some of those game pieces for a topper. We are going to glue the finial topper into the top of the egg, remove the ribbon from the bottom of the egg, and now we're going to start bringing it all together. You can see that I came around the candle pedestal with some glue and some Spanish moss. Once that was glued on, now we're going to mount on our egg. I'm using lots of glue on this project, making sure everything seals together. I also would recommend adding in some E6000. That will always glue the foam pieces to a glass piece really well without it coming off. Now we're going to dress up the bottom of our egg stand just a little bit more. I have this beautiful ticking stripe ribbon from the Dollar Tree. I get it in the floral craft section. I'm just going to cut it to size and glue it down. Then to finish dressing it up, I'm going to create a simple bow. Make sure the ends are cut at an angle, or you can do a dovetail, but I like an angle cut on my ticking stripe ribbon. I'm going to glue that into place, and you have the most high-end looking decor piece for a bookshelf, mantle, or for a fireplace. We are going to be using these eggs. I bought these wooden eggs a long time ago from the Dollar Tree and never really knew what to do with them because I didn't want to make them necessarily into a garland. We're going to be using 11 by 18 canvas board, some white burlap, and then some scrapbook supplies. Start by taking that white burlap or whatever fabric you have in your craft room that you want to use up. Go ahead and layer that onto your canvas board. I'm going to use a popsicle stick because when I work with burlap, the hot glue does seep through because it is a very loose knit. I'm going to just add on some glue, pull it really tightly, and then rub the glue down. Any extra hanging over the sides, just take your scissors and trim around. Now we're going to pull out that scrapbook paper. I found a whole bunch of coordinating papers. This particular kit is from Simple Stories. I just found colors that I liked the way that they looked. I'm going to cut some pieces down to the size I need for my egg, put some hot glue on, and then add on that scrapbook paper. No need to trace it with a pencil. It's so easy doing it this way. I just glued it down onto there, and then I'm going to take my scissors and simply trim as close as I can get around the egg. Once I've trimmed all the way around the egg, and I've done it to all the other 6 eggs, we then can move on to embellishing the eggs. I've had a lot of you asking me to do more scrapbook projects on my home decor, and this is going to answer the call. I'm using up a bunch of old embellishments that I've had sitting around in my craft room forever. My crocodile, I used it to punch a hole and to use an eyelet for my little tag. I found this darling goose. I love gooses. Oh, I love gooses. We actually have so many of them all over our town. Swans, geese, whatever it is. I just love birds. Now I'm going to add on some Spanish moss. I used foam tape to pop up my little goose. And I also used foam tape on my tag that says bloom. And I'm going to sneak that right underneath the Spanish moss. Now the fun thing about this project is that you can use up all kinds of fun little scrapbook supplies to decorate each egg, giving them each their own personality and bringing them to life. When you are done, you're going to glue them onto your canvas board. I'm just going to make sure they're lined up nice and straight. And then once I've got those glued down, we're going to move on to the next part. But I wanted to show this in more depth because that way you can see how I decorated each egg. I love tiny little embellishments, buttons, ribbons, brads, stickers, stamps. I love using scrapbook supplies. Once my eggs were all glued down, everything's locked into place, we could stop there or we could take it a little bit further. I had this random idea. What if I were to turn it into like a purse? That's the fun thing about decor when you start dreaming things up. I will most likely hang this in my daughter's room because she was eyeing it the whole time I was making this thing. This would be so cute on a bookshelf in her room. She's got a whole bunch of beauty bookshelves in her room where we put all of her cute girly supplies. I thought maybe I'll put it in there on one of her shelves, or you can also hang it up. But I loved the idea of turning it into a purse. I took one of the beaded wreath forms that they have in the craft section of the Dollar Tree. I cut the wire down and then I put it through the holes using my Crop-A-Dile to create those holes. Now I wanted to lock in some of that burlap from fraying too much. And I also love the idea of it having a little bit of a shabby look to it. So I'm going to take some paint with a popsicle stick and I'm going to roughly put on paint around the edges. Something about this really brought it to life. If it's not for you, I totally understand. No big deal, but I really loved it. Again, I'm just playing with this project and letting it evolve right before our eyes. Trim off any of the extra fibers you don't want. Now up at the top, I decided to add a bunch of ribbons, and I was just kind of playing with it at this point. I didn't know how many ribbons I wanted to put, and after I put the ribbons, I thought, oh, this looks really cute, but I think I want a big bow on the other side of the purse handle. So I put down a big burlap bow, and then because I know I'm going to be giving this to my daughter, I thought I'm going to put down a beautiful pink satin bow, and then I'm going to add on this little floral button. All together, it made the most darling whimsical spring decor piece, and it was so much fun making, and I used up a ton of scrapbook supplies, which was really awesome to use.